Hi, I'm Catherine Mora. I am the head book coach and publishing director of Change Empire Books, where we help coaches, speakers, and aspiring thought leaders write beautiful books and get them out into the world. This is Kat's Book Chat, where I speak every day about book writing, editing, publishing, and all those sort of fun things. So today's topic is writing in your journal or blog better than nothing? So when people come to me because they want to write a book, they'll often say, I'm not ready to write a book yet, but I'm journaling or I'm blogging, blah, blah, blah. Is that going to help? So I would say, yes and no. It's good if you're blocked, you have writer's block or whatever, and you just kind of want to be writing something to keep the creative juices flowing. That can be good. Journaling can be good if you're a little bit undecided about what you want to write about or where you're going with the business, or is writing a book or a great idea, or you want to explore your fears and doubts around it, and those kinds of emotional things that come up when we're talking about writing a book. But what's not really that helpful is if, for example, if you're writing a memoir, then anything you write in your journal or blog is probably not usable from the perspective that when people are writing in their journal or blog, they tend to be telling instead of showing. So that means they're just telling us, well, this happened and that happened, and she said this and that, and I felt like this, and blah, blah, blah. Whereas when you write a memoir, I love creative nonfiction style, which is written like a novel, which means you're using dialogue and action and description and, emotional reactions and internal dialogue and things like that. So it actually reads like a novel where you're the central character in the book. Nobody really writes like that in their journal or blog. They tend to just tell the story rather than show the story and really bring the reader in, which is okay for a blog, and obviously in your journal you can write what you want. But for a reader, it's not very engaging when you're talking about a longer piece of work like a book. So it's one of those things that you can write your journal and your blog, but when you finish those things or you're ready to start your book, you're probably not going to be able to pick up that content and drop it in to save you writing time with your book. I find it can often be harder to try and use something you've written and try and stuff it in to make it work, or using a blog, for example, or a journal entry, and then trying to edit it so that it becomes more memoir-like, because when you read something that needs a lot of work to make it suitable for the format you're writing in, so in this case a book, it can be quite challenging because you accept what's written and you can't sometimes think outside the box of what's written there. You kind of get stuck into that. It's hard to explain, but sometimes that sort of, I've written stuff, now I want to create a book out of it, makes it more challenging than starting from a blank page. I sometimes have talked to people who have been writing for months or years in some cases, and they'll say to me, oh my gosh, I've got like 100 documents, or I've got 100 pages of all these things, or I've got all these blogs, or I've got all these notes, and I've been taking notes for 5 years. Trying to get that into a book is a massive challenge because you have all of this writing which isn't necessarily related. Yes, you've probably got a theme because you specialize in something, but you're trying to get all of these random pieces and you're trying to stuff them into this logical sense. And you often don't, you might love a piece of work that you've written, but then you can't use it because it doesn't really fit anywhere, and you'll try and force it to fit, and it makes the book disjointed. Some people do recommend that you can base your book on 15 blogs. You basically just take 15 blogs and chuck them in a book. I don't love that approach because it tends to be disjointed. You can write your book with each chapter could relate to a different week in a program, for example, but you'll do it with a structure where every week builds upon the previous week, so you'll think about it from the concept at the high level at the beginning, write your structure to suit that, and then you flesh out the book, rather than doing it backwards where you've got all these bits and then you're trying to get them in order to work together somehow. So I would say it's easier to start from scratch, meaning that the journaling and the blogging, it's lovely, but it's probably not going to help with your book that much. So hopefully that was helpful. Feel free to message me if you're thinking about writing a book and you're a bit unsure, and happy to chat through that with you. I'm going to drop a link below to my 45-step book writing and publishing checklist. And until next time, happy writing.